Hello and welcome to the Bank Podcast for our first post-match review of the season. I'm your host, Holly, and I'm joined by Stef. Hi, Stef.
Hello, Holly. How you doing?
I'm very good, actually. This is
Good.
a nice way to start the season,
Yes.
the season's podcast off. Chris can't be with us, but he has sent us in his thoughts on the game, which probably mirror everybody else's thoughts on the game because it was quite a black and white response in a sense, wasn't it? Great result, questionable performance, but we will get into the nuts and bolts of the performance and the result and whether there's anything to read into the game or at all. I think the place to start probably is, well, actually I was just going to say with the team selection, but to be fair, I want to go a little bit further back. The context, I don't know about you, but I was not looking forward to this game one iota because United have purchased well in the summer. They were unbeaten in pre-season. I know from my Man United contacts that the mood was up, was positive. They were looking forward to it. Old Trafford for us is not a happy hunting ground. My Stats Dad t-shirt here, for those of you watching, I have got a few stats to share. The first ones, in the Premier League era, how many times do you think we have won at Old Trafford?
I've actually seen this stat shared around, so I do know. So,
Go on.
Yeah. It's 6.
6, yeah. Do you know the scoreline in each of those games?
1-0.
Every time, 1-0.
Mad.
Now,
I can't believe
can
that.
you name the 6 goal scorers?
Right, so...
I've not written them down, so I can't...
You haven't?
No.
Well, Wiltord is the obvious one.
That's the obvious one.
I think Overmars was one.
Is one.
Trossard was one a few
Trossard
years
is one.
ago. So now we also have Calafiori.
Yeah, Adebayor is one.
Adebayor.
And are we missing one? We might be missing one. You can
one.
message us in the socials with the missing player. And in the last 19 games, league games at Old Trafford, we've only won 3. So it's something about this stadium that really unsettles us. So adding all those factors in together, is the performance a concern? Is it a surprise? Once we've got the win, once we've got the 3 points, we went to Old Trafford last season, played really well and came away with a point. We went to Old Trafford yesterday, played, stank the place out and came away with 3 points. Well, I know which one I prefer. We dropped 10 games last season. We conceded a lead, which is a high for us. So result. First game of the season. Bedding in new players. Gyökeres only played 60 minutes. Got to get used to the team. Team got to get used to him, and so on. But fair play to United. They played really well. Their new signings, Cunha and Mbeumo, were excellent. But yeah, I don't know. Like, shall we read too much into the performance? Where are you on that? Was the performance important yesterday?
The performance was stressful for the 90 minutes that I was watching it, but ultimately, and as we said in our preview of the season, that the first 6 games are so tricky that the results absolutely trump the performances. If that performance had been produced 3 or 4 months into the season, I'd be concerned because it looks so lethargic, indirect, lacking cohesion. But for the opening game of the season, that's the other context. Yes, Manchester United are optimistic because of the signings and just your new season, new start and all that. But actually it is the opening game to go to Old Trafford. And just think about this, because I know how much trauma you have regarding Manchester United. Holly, we don't have to go to Manchester United, to Old Trafford again.
It's done.
All season. It's done. And to come away with 3 points, you can't really knock it. What was it? Two teams won away this weekend? Man City at Wolves, who looked really good, annoyingly. And us at Old Trafford. Well, ours at Old Trafford's the harder game. So,
Steph, you just cheered me up there. No end. It could be 2027 before we play at Old Trafford in the league again.
There you go.
I'm liking it. I'm liking it.
Good.
I know Old Trafford's been an unhappy hunting ground for us in the past. We've had 8-2s there. We've had a 6-1 there, the 6-1 I was at, which was not fun. But Arteta's record against United is pretty impressive. He's won 8, drawn 2 and lost 2. I think only Wolves, he's only got a better record as a manager against Wolves, where he's won 9 games as opposed to the 8 against United. So I still, as you mentioned the word scarred, I still can't see past that scarring. But maybe I need to start giving Arteta a little bit more credit in games against United and at Old Trafford. A few of the stats from the game, though, itself, we had no control. We had no control out of possession or in possession. It really was an odd experience. And again, an odd experience against an Amorim United as well. They had 61% of the possession, we had 39. They had 22 shots, we had 9. They had 7 on target, we had 3. They had an XG of 1.59. We had an XG of 1.05, so we're bang on our XG. Now, the XG from open play, their XG from open play was 1.35, as dived, plunged, plummeted to 0.29. We created so little. I think possibly the Saka chance right at the end from a lovely little pass from Ødegaard, I think, where De Ligt made a really good block and it went out for a corner. Open play chances that we should have done better with, I can't think of any. They had 36 touches in our box. We had 20 in theirs. They had 3 corners. We had 4. Keeper saved. Their keeper saved 2. Our keeper saved 7. Now, what I don't know is that, the punch from the cross, Raya's punch from the cross when he was under pressure from De Ligt, does that count as a save? I don't know. Or a clearance? I don't know. So I don't know if that's counted or not. Now, the quality of opportunity that United created is a debate we could have. Raya's save from Cunha, where he got his reaction save, the fingertips one, that was superb.
Across the goal.
Yeah, when it went across the goal, that was a superb save.
Yeah.
The save from the Mbeumo header was a kind of a headliners or the camera shot.
One for the cameras.
Yeah, one for the cameras. It's a good save, but you would expect him to make that save. Did he have another save that was particularly impressive? It's just the Cunha one, really.
Not particularly. No.
He did come under a little bit of self-inflicted pressure when he got caught in possession, but they fluffed their lines in that respect. So they're the match stats. Now, the team news, what we pretty much called the team news, there were 3 positions that we were having debates about. The 2 full-back positions and wide on the left. Even though wide on the left, we all said that Martinelli will start. I kind of offered the suggestion that it would be nice if Madueke started there. But because I thought that United would be a little bit more offensive in their team selection, I thought they would have Ahmad and Mbeumo on that side. I thought Martinelli's defensive nous was more important than Madueke's attacking threat to begin with, certainly. But as it turned out, they didn't actually play Ahmad from the start. They kept Sesko and Ahmad on the bench to offer threat if chasing the game later on. So Arteta went for White and Calafiori. I'm glad he went for White because White's played really well pre-season, and his relationship in an attacking sense with Saka and Ødegaard is brilliant. It's more effective in the opposition half than, say, Timber is, but Timber is maybe the more proficient defender. And then he went for Calafiori at left back instead of Miles Lewis-Skelly, which is fine. And would Miles Lewis-Skelly have scored that goal?
He wouldn't be expected to be in that position.
No. And
because of his stature.
And maybe the ball was going in anyway, I don't know, but you don't take that chance. So what did you think about the team selection? And on the United side, they started with Mount, a false 9, and Dalot instead of Ahmad and Sesko. I think that's the team that when compared to the team that I suggested that they might start with based on what the Manchester Evening News had said. But what did you think, like 2 minutes before kickoff, team news in, you've had a few minutes to kind of contemplate team selection, and what were your thoughts or feelings?
Perfectly content with our team selection, but just didn't know exactly what to expect from United, and what seemed to emerge because everyone was commenting on how shaky that Gabriel and Saliba looked. And on reflection, I feel that actually it's those attacking front lines that use less traditional forwards that actually probably cause Saliba and Gabriel the most problems, because it's all about movement and interchange that they have to deal with a bit more. I think they like it when they're up against a more traditional striker and that hustle and bustle. You know, how much have they relished being in those scraps with Haaland, say. And even when Sesko came on, you know, he's 6'5", he didn't appear to have a huge amount of presence. Maybe Saliba and Gabriel had sharpened up a little bit by that point. But I felt like Cunha and Bumo just were causing them all sorts of problems. I thought Mount had one of his better games that I've seen him had for United. And like you said earlier, you know, that despite defeat, and I would much rather be in the position, like you said, that we take the 3 points, but you can understand why Man United fans will be encouraged, at least, because they did have a dreadful season last season, and there looks like there's a bit of more of a plan for what it is that they're trying to do, and I just felt that Cunha and Bumo were popping up in different positions. They were running channels. What really struck me was how intense they were with going into challenges. Sometimes that might have spilled over, but I didn't see anything overly troublesome in the way they approached it. It was just competitive, and that was something that you definitely looked at that Man United team last season and felt was lacking a little bit. So, you know, they'll do well to do that. But I felt like we just didn't cope with that right. And we have had an iffy kind of pre-season. You know, maybe the Athletic Bilbao victory right at the end did flatter to deceive slightly. Bilbao probably aren't that great a team themselves. It gave us a little bit of confidence, but we did look like a team that have still got to develop a little bit more in intensity and directness, and I don't know, just in those relationships between some of the players.
It was very disjointed. There was no cohesion.
No.
I mean, at various points in the second half, it was attack v defence. Without United creating like glaring chances, it just felt inevitable that they would score.
Yeah, and the kind of, again, the reflection 24 hours later is to think that, again, I probably should praise Arteta a little bit more for making our poorest games still a 1-0 victory away at Old Trafford, because the foundations that are set defensively and with the quality of individual players in that defensive setup, you know, a keeper that's had the Golden Glove for 2 seasons in a row and can have a man of the match performance. In the long-term picture, that's still going to be very worrying. But in a short-term one-off game, it can reap rewards. There's been lots of stats doing the rounds about how Arsenal haven't conceded as many shots in a game since Man City away last year. But we had a person sent off in that game, so there was, you know, mitigation for that. Whereas in this one, I don't know, it just, because we couldn't seem to get anything going in attack, we were always on the back foot slightly, which, yeah, was quite punishing. But we have the best defence in the league, so our foundation, our floor, is where United's ceiling seemed to be. So, but long term, you know, it was those games where we would give up the goal and drop the 2 points and draw that killed off any chance of a proper push for the title. So in the short term, opening game of the season away at Old Trafford, fine, we can rationalise that. But, you know, in a few weeks' time, we will have to step up a bit more, and we will. I'm sure we will.
Well, you say that, but I think the issue people had with the game was how familiar it felt. So in isolation, first game of the season, absolutely everything you said, spot on. But if you take it as a continuation of last season, well, this could have been game number 11 where we dropped points from a winning position quite easily, and we could not have had an argument against that. You know, I'm not convinced United did enough to win the game, but they certainly didn't deserve to lose it. Like a draw, I mean, I'd have been disappointed with the draw because of how we took the lead or because of taking the lead. But cold light of day, I couldn't have complained about a draw at all. I'd have been disappointed because we'd have lost the lead. But I'd have realised, do you know what, we could have lost that game, let alone drawn that game. So winning it was important. I mean, the last time United had as many attempts on goal, they beat us 8-2.
Yes, I heard that as one as well,
So
which was like, oh dear.
And I think this will be a better than 15th placed Manchester United this season.
God, yeah.
Like Mbeumo, buying Premier League proven players. Cunha and Mbeumo were linked with Arsenal, and I wouldn't have.
If we'd signed them, I would not be unhappy.
No, not at all, not at all. And so they are absolutely going to make that team better.
Where United will have concerns, because what I felt was their build-up from the back was a little bit sharper than ours, but it was quite repetitive. So if a team... Because I felt we weren't perhaps brave enough in the press sometimes.
But you know what they did?
What?
They bypassed our midfield because the midfield matchups, we were going to dominate midfield, and we didn't.
Yes, that's what I was going to get to, because where they will get overrun, if there is a team that's slightly braver in the press, and they put more pressure on the two, because they play a back three, don't they? So the two wider players of that back three, when they push out to receive the ball, playing out from the back, if a team is more proactive in trying to press them and make that build-up play break down, well, then they can quickly get overrun. Because that player should be looking to play into midfield. But like you say, I don't think United wanted to do that because Casemiro looked heavy-legged, and Fernandes, he wants to think 10 or 15 yards further up the pitch. What they need to sign, really, for that 3-4-3 to work for Amorim, I feel like I don't want to give Man United advice, and they can probably all see it, is they need an all-action central midfielder. Yeah. Because essentially they're putting a lot of pressure on that Casemiro player if Fernandes is going to be his partner. Because...
They know that as well.
They do know that.
They've gone for Belieber at Brighton for that.
He's probably
role.
The one, isn't he? So that's where I felt like the likes of Saka and Martinelli were slightly disappointing for me in that they didn't go chasing. Or maybe it was under instruction. You know, maybe it was like, let's not be cavalier about this. We're away at Old Trafford on the first game of the season. You know, why take unnecessary risks? But like you say, in the long term, if we take a low-risk approach, you know, there's every chance we can still get caught out. It's a funny quandary.
I'm not sure that was intended. I just think the context of the game, we couldn't do anything about it, and we realised that because at half-time, I posted on the WhatsApp group, well, we can't be as bad in the second half. We were. So what I'm saying, it didn't improve. It didn't get worse, didn't deteriorate. But what did improve was our defensive unit improved. As you mentioned earlier, Saliba and Gabriel were immense in the second half. They had a few iffy moments in the first half, but in the second half they were superb. And Raya was brilliant. I mean, you see the difference a goalkeeper makes. Their goalkeeper is weak on a cross ball and they concede. Our goalkeeper is strong on a cross ball and the danger is cleared, and he keeps a clean sheet. Without Raya in goal for us, you swap those two goalkeepers, and that's a United win and an Arsenal defeat. Yep. But we backed ourselves defensively because nothing was... He made the two changes. He must have an insight into our WhatsApp group, perhaps, because I called at like 55 minutes. I think what you should do is you should bring Havertz and... Madueke on for Martinelli and Gyökeres, because Havertz will drop into midfield and give us some more control, perhaps, or more presence in midfield. And Madueke and Saka then are the two runners to keep the United defence on their toes. But it made little to no difference, the substitutions. And I think at that point it's like, well, okay, we're not going to change the dynamic of the game, so let's hold on to what we've got.
And Arteta must have seen that, because the next change was the two fullbacks.
Yeah. Interesting, wasn't it, that they were the changes?
And because One thing I noticed in the game as well, because I thought Calafiori had a good game. I thought, there were two moments. However, the two moments aside from the goal, the two moments that stand out were one where he did step into midfield centrally, and I think Zubamendi and Odegaard managed to pass through midfield, and Calafiori did a straight line run right up the centre of the pitch, which then Odegaard seemed to hesitate with the final ball. Possession got turned over, and suddenly Saliba and Gabriel were very exposed, which was annoying. And obviously his stupid yellow card that he gave away for pulling the shirt. But I did think Calafiori had a good game. But he had quite an intense game. He plays an intense game. He does a lot of running. So therefore, actually making that change seemed to make sense. I said in the preview about how I feel like the combination might be Calafiori and Timber, but I think White did help with his role because his recovery speed is so high that, if there is a turnover, if we do get beaten or in the press or whatever, then White can recover quite quickly. So, yeah, making that change, the two fullbacks. It was commented on, whoever the co-commentator was, I assume it was Gary Neville, saying that actually you could argue that the two fullbacks who have come onto the pitch are first choice. We have that such quality and depth in those positions, but we backed ourselves to defend.
Yeah. I think it's worth noting at this point that our bench was really strong.
And that's where we've done well in the transfer window this year, that actually that depth is definitely...
Okay, well, we started two of our signings, Zubamendi and Gyökeres. How do you think they played?
I thought a lot of people will probably be quite down on Gyökeres. I thought he played quite well. What was disappointing for me was how those people behind him perhaps could have released the ball quicker. I mean, that was something we were accusing them of last season anyway, that actually we can be a bit more direct. And I'm not sure we were hugely. I felt he ran the channels. He was strong. He engaged with the United defenders. They were obviously very proactive in trying to shut him down as best they could.
Can I just jump in there? Chris has sent in some thoughts on the game, and just in relation to Gyökeres and the players behind him, maybe not utilising his runs.
Yep.
I'm going to read something, and just to show you the problem we've got, or the dichotomy that Arteta's faced with. I'll read what Chris has written, because he said, also notable how much we resorted to the long ball, which kind of almost contradicts what you've just said, but I'll continue. Our midfield is superior to theirs, yet we couldn't dominate how we wanted to. A few times we were dispossessed in crucial midfield areas, which maybe led our defence to lump it long more. So there's that. But then Arteta, in his post-match presser, he said that there were 7 or 8 chances where in transition we didn't execute. We had the opportunity to release Gyökeres and maybe one of the wide players, and we either chose not to or executed the pass poorly. So it's about getting used to a striker who runs the channels, and we will get better at... He's played 60 minutes in competitive football. He's had, 1.5 to 2 weeks of a pre-season? He's not up to speed. And he was... slight issue. He didn't win many of his duels. He lost one I think he won 1 out of 6 or something like that against De Ligt. So the one area of his game that may be you're the battering ram, the physical presence, maybe he's... it will be a bit of a shock to him. Not every game's going to be Old Trafford's intensity opening day of the season. So that might, he'll adjust to that. And he's used to the Championship, and that's a very physical league. So I've got no concerns with him in that sense. But so was it that we were playing the long ball, bypassing midfield? Was that an instruction? Was it that we need to get used to the actual specifics of Gyökeres' runs and picking out so it becomes instinctive. We don't have to look up and even see. We just know that he's going. Bergkamp didn't look up to see where Henry was running. He knew where he was going to run. I listened to something Henry said recently, and it was just, this has got nothing to do with this game. he said a coaching moment from Wenger to give you an idea of what kind of manager Wenger was. Henry was complaining that was it Pires or Freddie or Reyes or someone wasn't playing the ball to him, and Wenger pulled him aside and said, "No, don't look at what they're not doing. Look at what you're not doing. How does Bergkamp pass the ball? How does Reyes pass the ball? How does Vieira pass the ball? They'll all pass the ball in a different way, a different manner. So you need to make a different run. When you see who's on the ball, you know what they're going to look. Some players won't look up. Some players will look up. So you need to adjust your game, tweak your game." And it just, relaying that to Gyökeres, and they can't possibly know the intricacies of each other's games yet. And that will come. And again, to get through the game with a win, whilst that's a learning process, that's brilliant. I think it's great. I'm not one of these fans that's on Gyökeres' back at all. Like, it's ridiculous. I mean, I'm to be fair, the fans who are on his back are not Arsenal fans. They're other teams' fans, so I shouldn't really give them any oxygen. But you just knew he was going to get a bit of negative heat from his performance. I think someone tweeted that Sesko had come on the pitch about 5 seconds, and someone tweeted Sesko's has equaled Gyökeres' impact on the game or something like that. I thought, well, that's a bit harsh. So Sesko did nothing either. But
just to clarify what I saw as the players behind him not utilising him, the long balls that Chris is talking about are coming from deeper. To me, they're designed for Havertz, because Havertz is reminiscent of Alan Smith. The taller player, he's going to stay long. You kick the ball long and high to him so he can win the header, win the knockdown for Kevin Campbell or latterly sort of Ian Wright to run onto. Gyökeres is more the Ian Wright or the Kevin Campbell looking to run between the defenders. So it requires a player behind him, for Gyökeres it's Saka, it's Martinelli, it's Odegaard, to pass that ball on the ground, low, fast, through the defenders for him to run onto. That's what I saw more of, but I didn't see Saka, Odegaard and Martinelli. Well, sometimes they would do it and it would be executed poorly, or sometimes they perhaps would hesitate and not do it, and then the opportunity had kind of gone away. But again, like you say, they've had it a year, 2 years now, where they're sort of tuned to the way Havertz plays, more so than anyone else. I know Jesus has played on the front line a little bit as well. And so, like you say, those sorts of things do have to develop. That's what I meant by that.
What do you make of Odegaard's game? I actually thought it was one of his better performances.
Well, it relates to a question you sent around to us in preparation for this to have that. So I thought he had a very, very good game as well.
Yeah, okay. Just for listeners, watchers, viewers, I sent the boys 5 questions, like man of the match, most impressive player of the match, disappointing player moment of the match, etc. But we'll come on to those. Yeah, I thought Odegaard had a better game. I thought he was more like his old self. Still plenty of improvement, but again, a lot of that might be the players around him not performing as they could or should have, perhaps. We were 1-0 down, 1-0 up at half time, and I don't like reading these stats out or reading these stats at the time, but it's nice reflecting when we know the outcome has been in our favour. But when leading at half time away in the Premier League, in our last 52 times, we've won 42, drawn 9 and lost 1. That one defeat was at Everton in December 2021. So our record of leading at half time away from home in the Premier League is pretty phenomenal. When leading away from home, we've won 42. Actually, it's 43 out of 53 now. I didn't factor in the Man United game, yesterday's game. So perhaps I should have been a little bit more confident and had a little bit more faith in the team holding out, but I didn't at the time. I was like, oh God, this is going one way. What do you make of the second half in terms of comparisons to the first half?
Again, it's all on you've got to be pleased with the way the defence held up, but just kept getting frustrated with the way attacks seemed to keep breaking down and not resulting in a clearer effort from the players. The changes, like you say, were ones that we would have probably made ourselves and made sense, but at the same time, nothing was overly surprising. Yeah.
Rice was substituted for Marino,
Mm.
and I think Arsblog wrote in his blog this morning that before that substitution occurred, he felt that Rice was perhaps carrying a knock or something. He didn't feel that Rice was right. How did you feel about his performance?
Yeah, he didn't have the presence in the game. Well, there was an interesting point. There was a point in the first half, quite late on in the first half, where I said to myself, not a single Arsenal player is in this game. Not a single Arsenal player, you would say, is making the most of their area of the pitch and bringing out the most positive qualities. The odd player might have the odd moment, but really no one's really in the game. And that was because it felt that Man United were able to instill their game onto us rather than us instill our game onto them, which was a shame. Look, at the end of the day, he's put in the corner. You know, his deliveries from set pieces are still fantastic. But yeah, he didn't have a huge amount of presence in the game, but I felt like no one else did really. The other thing I sort of wondered about this as well is that I remember a number of years ago when Richard Hammond was on Top Gear and they got him driving a Formula One car. And what he realised was that a Formula One car can only go fast. If you try and take it a little bit slowly at first, it's not built for that. Everything has to be at high revs. The brakes have to be hot. The tyres have to be warm. Everything has to be at high energy. There are some Arsenal players, I think, in our team that have to operate like that as well. And this is why I might have been reading the game wrong, and whether it was intended or not, or whether it was because Man United were better at imposing themselves, I'm not sure. But because we fell into this, okay, sit back, try and control the game, see what we can do, there were a few players who therefore were a little bit loose. Whereas if the game had a bit more intensity, those players might have been a little bit more effective. I'm looking at Saliba and Gabriel to start with at the back, but I'm also looking at particularly Martinelli being one of them. I don't know. Perhaps Rice falls into that a little bit too. I don't know. It just felt strange.
I know what you mean. I just maybe think that United away is that high intensity game. You'd think that would be.
So what, were we just not? We were just undercooked in a way, maybe.
Do you know what? I think we've had if you think about the actual starting 11, they played 60 minutes against Athletic Bilbao.
Mm.
They've not had Gabriel his
First competitive game in 5 months?
Yeah, second start in that length of time, one pre-season game, and it's I think we'll benefit from having had the game and an extra week of training before the Leeds game on Saturday. If we see a similar performance against Leeds on Saturday, then I think
alarm bells ring.
Yeah, definitely. I'm not looking for a Rolls-Royce performance against Leeds and a 5-0 win, but I'm looking for an uptick in performance. I'm looking for, you've just mentioned it there, not one Arsenal player played their game or dominated the game or imposed themselves on the game. Whereas against Leeds, I would be looking for 2 or 3 of our top draw players to impose themselves on the game.
I think the barometer will be the man of the match against Leeds has to be an attacker or a midfielder.
Yeah,
please.
Because I know I've written down my man of the match.
Exactly.
Okay, now look, I think it's only fair and right that I focus on 2 controversial decisions that occurred in the game. Both went against Manchester United. I know there's a lot of upset in the United ranks, and I'll be honest with you, I can understand it with regards to one of the decisions. The first one is the goal. For me, that was a goal. I could see how VAR could have got involved and Saliba's arm against Bayindir might have been the reason they called foul on it. However, ignoring the fact that Mason Mount was backing into Saliba, pushing him in. Saliba was just strong. But if they had done that, I would have been apoplectic, because if you look at one of the camera angles, Martin Zubimendi is running into the box.
He's being
and Cunha is
held.
bear hugging him, rugby tackling him, not looking at the very directive that we were told. A player will be penalised, a penalty will be awarded if a player has two hands, two arms on an opponent, and they're not looking at the ball and they're just playing the man. Which if they wanted an illustration, a visual, a 5-second illustration of what they're talking about, then they could have just rerun that. So if the goal had been, and we don't know, maybe the VAR saw this and thought, well, if we chalk off the goal, then we've got to give a penalty, because it's clear as day to see that. So I'm not buying that goal was, for me, should have stood. What do you think? Do you think that goal was fair?
Real time, yes. Agreed with even the sort of instant replay where it was looking at what was going on with Saliba and the keeper. That angle, there is a photo that does the rounds where Saliba is seemingly exactly, getting a bit handsy with the keeper. But again, for me, the bar needs to be a little bit higher for chalking off a goal. There's enough controversy that's happened this weekend already with rules that no one seemed to be aware of.
The Eze free kick.
Yeah, so the Eze free kick against Chelsea being the one. Look, as football fans, it needs to be so clear and obvious, that words. And I don't want to talk too much about the decisions. What I did find surprising, because actually all I did was watch the game. I didn't watch any of the build-up. I didn't watch the fallout afterwards. We've had people round. I've had other things, like more enjoyable things to do, basically. But I was surprised to wake up this morning and start just looking online at how many people were talking about the referee decision. I felt, watching the game live, that actually that wasn't such a big deal. Yeah, there were a few decisions where I thought, okay, well, maybe he's favoured the home team ever so slightly, but I didn't think it was that kind of game, and there were enough incidents for me to understand why United fans would lose their minds either.
Well, I think from an Arsenal perspective, Fernandes and Maguire put in two challenges that should have resulted in yellow cards and didn't, but that's been a bit churlish. The second incident is the Saliba tackle on, I think it's Mbermo, but it could be Cunha, one of the two.
Cunha, I think, yeah.
Towards the end. Now, I think it's one of those decisions. Had the referee given a penalty, it would have stood. Because the on-field decision was no penalty, VAR decided to run with the on-field decision. The replay, I always couch it like this: if that was down the other end, I would be screaming for a penalty. And having seen the replay, I would not understand why VAR didn't get involved. Cunha's foot is planted, and Saliba comes in from behind or the side behind, and he doesn't make any contact with the ball. It's foot. He hits his standing foot. For me, it was a penalty all day long. And I think it's only right that kind of, when I do bleat on about the injustices of VAR and how we as a club seem to be disproportionately impacted by poor VAR decisions, well, I think that one went our way, and that would have been a 1-1 with 10 minutes to go game, which would probably have ended with a 2-1 defeat, the way the momentum was. Well, so you're not, I'm detecting that you're not quite on the same page?
No, I didn't necessarily see it that way. I just, the coming together, maybe the context of, was Cunha going to be in full control of the ball when he receives it?
Is that important? If he was kicked?
No, maybe
if he was
not.
Kicked from behind?
Maybe not. I don't know. I just didn't see it that way. That one, the interference of Saliba with the keeper on the corner was more of a.
It's funny, isn't it? It's football, isn't it?
Put him in down. And the fact that we're looking at two incidents and we're both seeing them slightly different ways, to me says, well, then referees call umpires call as they'd have it in cricket, or neither of them are clear and obvious enough to go and challenge whatever the on-field referee gave, possibly.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with you. I think the Saliba arm on Bain that impacted him and could easily have been called foul. But my issue would have been then, well, you can't ignore the rugby tackle on
sure.
Zubimendi. So, and maybe they weighed that up because it was quite clear. It was in the centre of the goal. It was on the 6-yard box. It was like, it's the new directive.
Yes, yeah.
Like, if there hadn't been a new directive, I wouldn't have given it a second thought because it happens all the time and it's never penalised. But the fact they've said, and the players have been told, and there was your opportunity, and maybe they thought, well, do you know what? Let's just let it go. On-field decision, we can justify that because it wasn't, as you just said, clear and obvious, and let's let it run. So, yeah, but I did think it was a penalty in the second half. I did think that I know that if that was my attacker being clobbered by their centre half, I'd have been screaming for a penalty, and I'd have been. And watching it on TV, having seen a replay, I'd be thinking, "Oh, he's going to overturn that. It's going to be a penalty."
And again, I use the same barometer. What would I want in that situation? But it wasn't a screaming one for me. I don't know why. It just gut telling me.
Maybe you're calming down in your dotage.
New season, new Stef. I predicted a win, and we got a win.
This is true.
It's shocking, isn't it?
This is. I'm still shook. Yeah.
I tell you what's not shocking, as we mentioned new directives. Michael Oliver being the first referee to award a team a corner because the keeper held on to the ball too long. I mean, it was written in the stars, right?
What? He's our best referee. What are you talking about?
Allegedly.
Yeah. Can I read Chris's thoughts then on the United game?
Let's have it.
Again, apologies if I'm just going to read verbatim. A lot of this may be repetitive, but he says we started poorly. Credit to United, who came out of the blocks with pace and passion, as you'd expect. While I don't expect us to be as front-footed as them, home team, first game of the season, new players, I wanted us to weather the storm with more control and precision, which would have enabled us to maybe hit them on the counter. Instead, we barely strung 5 passes together in the first 10 minutes. I mean, to be fair, I'm not sure we strung more than 5 passes together the entire game.
It was, notable how our use of the ball in possession was pretty woeful.
And Arteta referenced that afterwards. He said he was proud and impressed by how we reacted to the mistakes. Just eliminate the mistakes.
Faint praise, isn't it?
Just eliminate the mistakes. But what's good is they've got a week, which is brilliant, and lots of evidence of things to improve upon.
Yeah.
So it's the game, breaking down the game for training purposes. It's actually the perfect game to improve with. Because, look, this is what you look at a freeze frame here. Look at Gyökeres's run there. Look what you did instead. Look what then happened in transition. Calafiori's upfield. Look at what happened. So what should you have done there? All those things. Arteta, Wenger famously used to, in training sessions, if someone had a shot, he'd shout freeze, and the ball would be returned to the player who shot, and then he'd be asked to look around and see if there was anybody nearer to the goal in a better position. That should have been the option.
But also, with my experienced hat on, how many Wenger teams would have crumbled at United in similar circumstances?
8-2.
And so for Arteta, well, exactly. And here's Arteta. He's got a 1-0 away win on the first day of the season at Old Trafford, and it's still not good enough. I don't mind that.
Yeah,
I don't mind that at all.
Yeah, high bar. Right, where was I? The goal was, of course, welcome. Credit to Saliba for creating chaos, which led to the goalie error. But we didn't kick on, and United got a lot of joy down our left as Calafiori was caught upfield on transitions. I think we have to give United more credit there. Yeah. We didn't kick on because they didn't let us kick on, and I think, that's. Whilst disappointing in a one-off, worrying if it becomes a continued trend from last season, but sorry, this is an interesting interlude we're going to have now. I'm recording this in Ireland in my mate's house, and he needs to come in. Come in, Herstein. Come in. Sir, he needs to retrieve his wallet. He's crawling. No, Hurston, you're on camera. Where you're on camera, I'm going to cover him up there. Oh, dearie me. Well, listen, anyone who's listening to this audio only, you need to stop this audio viewing. You need to get onto our YouTube channel and watch this. It's a thing of beauty.
It's reminiscent of, remember when they were speaking to that economist on BBC News, and then his wife had to retrieve a child that had snuck into the back of the shot. Oh, that was like during COVID times. That was funny.
And he's actually in a good mood. Old Hurston, he's a Spurs fan, so he's happy this week.
Yeah, imagine, a Spurs team with a plan, play quite well and score quite annoyingly
they only played
good goal.
one of the promoted I'm saying one of the promoted teams. I'm saying that I appreciate who we're playing next week, and it might not be quite as easy as Spurs made it look. Right, so no idea what I was saying, so I'm going to carry on reading Chris's thoughts. Need to find a balance there. So he's talking about getting Calafiori being caught upfield. Thinking about it, we don't really have a traditional left back. Timber is as close as it gets. Calafiori suits being left centre half or left side of a back three. Miles Lewis-Skelly just wants to get into midfield as soon as possible. Everyone knows we invert our left back, so there's always going to be space there on transitions, and that is something that Arteta's going to need to address. And is Calafiori defensive-minded enough in that position?
Well, yes and no, but that's why in our preview I said that your combination of fullbacks, for me, it's Timber with Calafiori for that reason. Timber's a little bit more defence first.
So they can move over a little bit.
Exactly, allowing Gabriel to cover that space if Calafiori goes off. Miles Lewis-Skelly, yes, he steps into midfield, but is very much then at the base of midfield and happy to kind of stay there a little bit more, although he can attack with good success, as we know, against City last season.
Yeah, okay. Second half played out much like first, with United creating more, but we dug in. And if ever there was a great example of a played badly but won mark of champions, blah, blah type of game, this was it. Overall, now I've calmed down, we can caveat that it is the first game of the season. We're clearly still bedding in Gyökeres, and the team needs to find its fluency generally. Concerns remain over Martinelli, who was largely ineffective in the final action, but then most outfield players found it tough going today. Arteta praised them all for reacting well to errors in game, but he will know the level has to improve. 3 points, we move on, and ha United. Verbatim, that's Chris. Don't shoot the messenger, United fans.
Can I pick up on one thing?
Yeah.
Because I've heard this from more than one pundit and reporter about this whole thing about a mark of champions is playing badly and winning. Can you say that after one game?
Some of the reactionary knee jerk. I mean, there'll be loads of knee specialists in great demand. The amount of knee jerk reactions to that game, even after 45 minutes of it, was ridiculous.
Yeah,
waste of money, Gyökeres.
Crazy.
We have a song for Havertz because people slagged him off at the start of last season or the season before. How long have we had for Havertz?
This is his third season.
Yeah, that's 2 seasons, right? Okay. On to my 5 questions. So, who was our best player?
I feel like there's 2 parts, isn't there? There's man of the match, and then there is who is arguably our best player.
Well,
what are you asking?
That's surely the same thing.
Okay, well, the man of the match, I've got the same as Chris, as you'll know, seeing his notes.
Okay, so
if David Raya.
If I go round the 3 of us,
okay,
each question, yeah. So we've all picked best player, man of the match was David Raya. So the next question, what was your positive takeaway other than the result?
That the structure and foundations of the team remain at a very high level, which will see us right for the most part.
Okay,
defense, basically.
Yeah, my positive takeaway was defensive resilience still intact. That's still there. And Chris's was more match minutes for our new boys who will only improve, particularly after such an intense game. That's his positive takeaway. The next question was, what was most disappointing aspect of the game for you?
For me, final ball. Final third was terrible. Just that final pass,
Yeah.
or if the final pass was good to feed someone, then the shot was not great. It was all very underwhelming.
I mean, mine's quite similar. I've just written no fluidity in attack, and I kind of prefaced that with familiar to last season. Worryingly, Chris's was we didn't match the intensity and energy of United, and again, but I wonder how much of that was because of them. But and again, maybe a slightly poorer pre-season for us with the players involved. Perhaps, I don't know. Which player impressed you most? So not man of the match, but which player impressed you most?
Oh, Odegaard, 100%.
Okay.
I thought his energy levels and his speed of press was great. This is why I was so disappointed with Martinelli and Saka either side, because I don't think they matched his intensity with the press, which meant that actually United weren't put under enough pressure.
It was too easy.
from that build up out from the back. I thought Gyökeres was fair game with that. He was okay, but yeah, Odegaard. And there were some lovely touches from Odegaard. There was a moment where he sort of nutmegged one player and then passed it off before getting them wiped out by the tackle. He looked sharp. He looked good.
Chris's which player impressed? Zubimendi, he said, despite not being as involved as we'd like with line-breaking passes, he was happy to get physical, defended well and won a few turnovers.
Yeah.
My most impressive player was actually Calafiori. I referenced Calafiori. I thought, again, you've kind of summed it up. When he scored the goal, he is a merchant of chaos in an attacking sense, something that we don't have. More the maverick footballer. Probably one of the reasons we're crying out as a fan base for Eze to join us, who has that.
Or Rodrigo.
So I know defensively, and again, I didn't pick him as a starter because I felt he wasn't as defensively robust as possibly Miles Lewis-Skelly would have been on that side. So I've put down Calafiori. And the final one is, which player disappointed you the most?
Look, the answer is probably Martinelli, but I'm also going to say that because Martinelli's disappointing, but I worry that that's what Martinelli is. Whereas actually, for the levels I know he can get to, I thought Saka did look off it yesterday. He didn't seem to be able to get anything going. Luke Shaw was quite intense in trying to close him down and effective. Yeah, Saka, sadly.
Chris agrees with you. He said Martinelli. Sorry to pile in, but Martinelli, just poor decision-making again. I think it's a consequence of the left side coming under such focus too. My most disappointed player is Saka in the game. Again, you just alluded to it, but he actually only completed 1 of 6 attempted dribbles in the game.
Yeah, it wasn't
He's
great, was
much better than that. And
yes.
And you know, to have him be so under par and we still win the game, I think's a testament to the rest of the team and the resilience, mental fortitude shown. So, Saka. But that's not to get on his case. That's because his standards are so high.
Yeah.
He was probably still more effective than Martinelli. But, I didn't expect Martinelli to... My expectations are a lot lower of Martinelli than they are of Saka. So I was more disappointed with Saka.
It's so sad to see. But yeah, I just think that this is what it's end product. That's why I said the most disappointing thing in the game for me was that final third, that final touch, that final cross or shot just was way off where it needs to be.
So it's about 13 days before the transfer window slams shut. Do you think we'll do anything?
Well, there are all sorts of reports coming out. It looks like Eze, which will be really disappointing, might be going to Spurs. I mean, exactly what they need with Maddison's ACL injury and will improve them no end. But boy, is there an opportunity there for us to add to our team. But by all accounts, Arsenal want someone who is more of a traditional wide player because Eze has that. He's more of a central attacking midfielder. That's not one we necessarily want to. Whether we're still in for Rodrigo, I've got no idea. But after Rodrigo, who is it?
I can't. I have no answer.
Exactly.
Lookman, Atalanta, Anthony Gordon's a name that always gets bandied about, but that's not realistic.
No, Newcastle aren't selling Gordon.
Unless he goes on strike.
Well, I mean, after watching Liverpool's game on Friday, which I did watch, they don't need Isak. I mean, they want to bolster, and it's one of those things. We said it with us going for Eze and even maybe Rodrigo as well. You can't have enough good world-class players. So Liverpool are obviously trying to buy into that. They know Salah will be going to the African Cup of Nations, so there will be opportunities, but they will be well stocked. But Liverpool's priorities should be in defence, or at least in defensive midfield. But yeah, for us, that left side is a weird part of the team that doesn't seem to have much going for it at the minute.
I'm pleased Ekitike scored in his first 2 competitive games, the Charity Shield and again on Friday, because he occupies the exact positions that Isak does, and it might pause their pursuit of Isak a little bit. And I just want to see what happens if Isak doesn't get his move. Because the Newcastle fans, the away fans, have turned on him, rightly so, like completely understandably. I no truck with them at all. He's behaved appallingly, ill-advised.
But this is Newcastle, who played Villa. I only saw the highlights. They were much the better team, had way more chances, but it was 0-0. What did they need? They needed an Isak in the team. So Newcastle fans, we're all fickle. If he comes back into the fold and he's scoring goals, they'll be fine.
Of course. I am looking forward to the Newcastle's first home game of the season.
It's going to be delicious. Next week, you've also got the CAS derby, so the court of arbitration in sport. So it's Palace versus Forest. Oh,
that's a new rivalry.
That is going to be a new rivalry. Yeah, that's good. But yeah, Liverpool Newcastle will be a very sort of intense, weird game. There's a part of me that wonders if Liverpool have done this just to unsettle Newcastle in the run up to that game, and then afterwards they'll just drop their pursuit of him, and then it's like, yeah, now deal with that.
And then he'll come back and score a hat-trick against us, and all will be forgiven.
Exactly. Great.
What was I going to say about expected transfers? Yeah, I mean, we need someone on the left-hand side. I think the reason that we cooled on Eze is Nwaneri playing more as an option, more central. And I look at the bench. Nwaneri didn't come on, but we didn't need to score a goal, so I can understand that. And Eze probably wouldn't have come on because we, didn't need to score a goal. But the one thing that disappointed me about that whole team selection or the squad selection was Trossard's presence on the bench. The others weren't there. Kivior wasn't on the bench, and we don't want him to go, but I think he's probably one of the more likely ones to go. Porto sniffing around again after their abysmal 27 million option to buy after a loan move. It's like, go away. But Trossard, and Zinchenko's been linked with Turkey, 8.5 million. He's into the final year of his contract.
Yeah, what are you going to do?
It's, again, just to generate some funds, but also to free up some space.
Yeah.
That's that as much as anything. But
wages,
Trossard's the key. Trossard needs to get on his bike and quickly, because if he does, Eze is more important because he has that versatility, left and more central. But yeah, you can see him fitting into that Spurs starting 11 straight away and making them instantly better. So it will be a double whammy against us, missing out on him and him going to Spurs. I'm not sure which. I think I'll find it harder to reconcile the fact he's turning up in a Spurs shirt than us not actually buying him. If he stayed at Palace, then I'd be like, all right, fair enough.
But it will take big money. Palace are not going to want to sell. Palace are in a good spot at the minute. Following on from last season, they've won a trophy. They won the Community Shield. They've gone away to Chelsea. I think Palace-Chelsea was one of the most one-sided fixtures in the Premier League in its history, with Chelsea just always kind of winning against Palace. And for Palace to go there and draw is a good result for them. But Palace are a very, very tidy football team. Glasner, their manager, should be heaped with praise, but
he's
he
not
knows.
happy. He's not happy.
Well, he's not being reinforced, and it looks like they could lose two of their best players. Gahey, because of the contract situation, and Eze would be devastating for them.
I'm hoping we're doing what we've. Bear with me here. I'm hoping we're taking a leaf out of Man United's books and their approach with Sesko. They just sat back and waited for Newcastle to strike an agreement with player and club, and then they came in because they knew that Sesko preferred them. So they just had to match what Newcastle offered, and the player would be theirs. We know that if it's a toss-up between us and Spurs, Eze will choose Arsenal all day long. He's honest about that. We know that. So I'm hoping we're waiting until an agreement has been reached between Spurs and Palace, because let's be honest, Daniel Levy's probably a better person to do a deal with Palace than Berta. Like, he's tight.
Yeah, he's
Daniel
not going to
Levy.
want to give them more money.
So he'll get the best deal possible. Whatever that is, 68 million, match the buyout clause, fine. Whatever that is. But once that agreement is made, we can just come in and match that offer.
Yeah.
And that'd be great. It'd be like Emmanuel Petit asking, going to Tottenham and them saying, is there anything we can get for you? Yes, can you call me a taxi, please? And he gets the taxi to Arsenal and signs for Arsenal. Like, fantastic, legend, hero already. So we get Daniel Levy to do our bargaining for us, our dealing for us, and then we get the player. Thank you very much, Dan. That's how I'm seeing it, until obviously it goes another way. But yeah, we definitely need someone on the left-hand side.
Or just something different, and it is sad to see, but Martinelli might need a spell where someone comes in and takes over the position for a while, so he can get out of the limelight, work on his game, and hopefully kick on. Or, yeah.
I mean, Chris mentioned the pressure. I mean, he's done nothing in pre-season or the Old Trafford game to suggest that he hasn't reached his peak. He's been plateauing for quite a while. And we love him.
We do.
And we would love him to be better.
Yeah.
You know.
But sadly, football is about just how good you are, isn't it?
Yeah,
you know, not so much how you try.
Yeah, maybe Emile and Reece weren't as good as we hoped they would be, and that's why they haven't so far gone on and excelled elsewhere. Right, listen, I think that's a great way to start the season. A victory at Old Trafford. If you offered me that before the game, you'd take it all day long, and you wouldn't give a toss about the quality of the performance.
And it could be another whole year before we have to go
2027.
2027, imagine that.
And so it makes me so happy. I'll sleep well tonight. Right, we're back on Thursday for a Leeds United preview. I will be back in England, so back recording from my grave-like pad.
Your tomb.
My tomb, the mausoleum. And Chris will be back from Cyprus with good Wi-Fi in London. So join us for that. In the meantime, enjoy the glow and glory of 3 points. We move. 37 to go. Bye.
37 more of those and I'll be dead.
Cheerio.
See ya.
The North Bank, an Arsenal podcast. Subscribe, rate and review on your app, and find us on your socials at North Bank Pod. Email hello@thenorthbankafc.com and check out our website, thenorthbankafc.com. Produced by the Podcast Company.